My family handed over their $1 million home to my brother as his graduation gift even though I'd been covering their $8,000 monthly bills since they retired. So I canceled every automatic payment that morning. Hey family. Hit that subscribe button, drop a hello in the comments and tell us where in the world you're listening from. Alright, let's continue the story. The email sat in my inbox like a bomb waiting to detonate. Graduation celebration and special announcement. Read the subject line. My mother's words dripped with excitement through the screen as I sat in my downtown office, still wearing yesterday's blazer because I'd worked past midnight again. My younger brother Chris was finally graduating with his MBA, his third degree, all funded by our parents while I'd worked 2 jobs to finish my bachelor's. Sweetheart, we're so proud. Come celebrate your brother's achievement. We have a very special surprise for him, Mom had written. My stomach twisted. I knew that tone. It was the same one she'd used when they'd bought Chris his first car at 16 while I rode the bus. The same one when they'd paid for his destination bachelor party in Mexico while I'd gotten a card for my wedding. I glanced at my phone's banking app, still open from this morning's routine. $8,417, automatically withdrawn like clockwork. Mortgage, property taxes, utilities, their car payments, health insurance premiums, the country club membership Dad refused to give up. 5 years of this. 5 years since they'd retired early at 60 because they'd earned it. I was 34 years old and I'd been their ATM since 29. You're the responsible one, baby girl, Dad had said when he'd first asked. Just until we get situated. That was 60 months ago. 60 transfers. Over $500,000 of my salary gone. My own dreams of homeownership frozen. My marriage strained to breaking. But I'm a good daughter. So I typed back, wouldn't miss it. Chris had always been the sun in our family's solar system, and I'd learned early that I was merely a distant planet, cold and overlooked. The patterns started young. I was 7 when I brought home straight A's and a certificate for perfect attendance. Mom stuck it on the fridge with a smile. That same week 5-year-old Chris drew a picture of our dog, a brown blob with stick legs, and Dad had it professionally framed. It still hangs in their living room. He's so creative, Mom would coo. So special. I became special through utility. The reliable one. The one who helped with homework, made lunches and later brought solutions instead of problems. Chris brought problems constantly but they were somehow charming. Failed classes became he's too smart to be engaged by traditional education. DUIs became boys will be boys. A gambling debt of $15,000 during his undergrad became he's learning about real-world consequences. Consequences I watched Dad pay off without hesitation. Meanwhile, I'd graduated summa cum laude with a degree in finance, landed a corporate job within months, and worked my way up to senior analyst. I'd done everything right. I bought practical gifts, showed up early to family dinners, remembered everyone's birthdays. I thought competence would earn their pride. Instead, it earned me responsibility for their comfort. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd become so good at managing money that I'd become the family's financial foundation. My success made me useful. Chris's failures made him beloved. And somewhere in those calculations I'd stopped asking which I'd prefer to be. My husband Devon had asked me that very question last month during our third argument about the money. When are you going to stop setting yourself on fire to keep them warm? I hadn't had an answer then. I wasn't sure I had one now. The party was scheduled for Saturday at their house. The 4-bedroom colonial with the wraparound porch that I'd never lived in. They'd bought it 15 years ago, right after I'd moved out for college. Finally room to breathe, Mom had said, though they'd raised 2 kids in a perfectly adequate 3-bedroom for 18 years. I'd never raided my own room in this house. The guest bedroom was Chris's space for when he visits, despite him living in their basement for 3 of the past 5 years. That Tuesday I sat across from Devon at our apartment's tiny kitchen table, pushing pasta around my plate. We'd been married 6 years, and I could see the weariness etched into the corners of his eyes. He was a teacher, good man, patient as a saint. But everyone has limits. Did you see the letter from the mortgage company? He asked quietly. We're approved for pre-qualification. Up to $400,000. We could finally stop renting Maya. Start building our own equity. 400,000. It sounded like Monopoly money when I'd wired 8,000 to my parents that very morning. I'd transferred nearly $500,000 to them over 5 years. We could have bought a house outright. Could have started the family we'd been postponing. Could have lived instead of just survived. I know, I whispered. After the party we'll talk about setting boundaries. I promise. Devon's laugh was bitter. You've promised before. Every time you fall back into the same pattern. They ask you give. They expect you deliver. He stood, his chair scraping against the linoleum. I love you, Maya. But I can't compete with people who've spent 34 years training you to believe your worth is measured by your usefulness to them. He left for his night class. I sat alone, his words echoing. My phone buzzed. Mom, can you pick up the catering on Saturday morning? And maybe transfer an extra 2,000? The party planner cost more than expected. Saturday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. I woke at dawn, my mind already racing through the day's logistics. Pick up catering at 9. Arrive at the house by 10:30 to help set up. Smile. Be supportive. Be the good daughter. The responsible one. Always the responsible one. Devon was already awake, sitting on our bedroom's only chair, coffee in hand. You're really going to do this? Transfer more money to people who are about to throw a party that costs more than our monthly rent. It's Chris's day, I said automatically, the script so rehearsed it required no thought. But my hands shook as I applied mascara. In the mirror I barely recognized myself. When had I become this person? When had I learned to make myself so small? I opened my banking app out of habit, reviewing the scheduled payments. There they were, lined up like soldiers. Mortgage payment due in 3 days. HOA fees. Both car payments. Dad's Lexus and Mom's Mercedes. Their premium cable package. Country club dues. Health insurance. The lawn service. Even Chris's car insurance, though he was 29 years old with a master's degree. My finger hovered over each automatic payment. How easy it would be. One tap. Cancelled. Another tap. Cancelled. Just like that, I could stop the hemorrhaging of my future into their comfort. But good daughters don't abandon family. Good daughters sacrifice. That's what I'd been taught. Maya, Devon said softly. Whatever you decide today, I'm with you. But please, baby, decide something. Decide for us. Decide for you. Just once, put yourself first. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the man who'd chosen me, loved me, waited for me to choose myself. My throat tightened. I will, I promised. Today changes things. I didn't know how true that would be. The house sparkled with an elegance that money, my money, could buy. White and gold balloons clustered in every corner. A catering staff of 6 circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres that cost $30 per person. The backyard had been transformed into something from a magazine spread. String lights, a rented bar, tables draped in cream linen. I'd arrived early as requested, hauling the custom cake from the bakery, helping arrange gift bags for the 50 guests my parents had invited. Chris held court by the pool, master's degree hood already draped over his shoulders like a cape, regaling his friends with stories about his thesis. He saw me struggling with a box of party favors and waved cheerfully before returning to his audience. Maya, sweetheart. Mom descended in a flutter of expensive perfume and a dress I'd never seen. Probably $500 minimum. Oh good, you got the cake. Can you set up the gift table? And check on the caterers? I think they're behind schedule. No hello. No thank you for the 2-hour round trip to the bakery. Just more tasks. I swallowed the familiar bitterness and smiled. Sure, Mom. Dad appeared, whiskey already in hand though it wasn't even noon. There's my girl. Come here, give your old man a hug. He pulled me close and I smelled the expensive cologne I'd added to their monthly budget 6 months ago. Big day for our family, huh? Your brother's really made something of himself. Something in his phrasing struck me. Our family's big day. Not Chris's. Not even the kids. Just Chris's achievement reflecting glory on them. I was part of the family that celebrated him, not someone whose achievements warranted celebration. The distinction had never been clearer. Yeah, Dad. Really big. I extracted myself from the hug. I should go check on those caterers. That's my responsible girl, he beamed. Don't know what we'd do without you. I knew exactly what they'd do without me. I was about to find out. The party reached its crescendo as the sun began its descent, painting everything in golden light. Guests mingled, drinks flowed, and the air hummed with celebration. I'd spent the afternoon playing hostess, refilling drinks, clearing plates, introducing people, taking photos. My feet ached in heels I'd bought specifically for this occasion. Devon had texted twice asking how I was holding up. I hadn't found time to respond. Then Dad clinked his glass, calling for attention. The crowd gathered, forming a semicircle around the patio where my parents stood flanking Chris like proud sentries. My mother glowed with an excitement I'd rarely seen directed anywhere but at my brother. Thank you all for coming to celebrate our son's incredible achievement, Dad began, his voice carrying the slight slur of afternoon drinking. Chris has worked so hard for this degree and we couldn't be prouder. But today isn't just about celebrating his graduation. Today we're celebrating his future. Mom clutched Chris's arm, practically vibrating with joy. We've been planning this for months. Our son deserves the best start to his new life, and we want to give him something that shows how much we believe in him. My stomach dropped. I knew that preamble. I'd heard it before every grand gesture they'd made for Chris. The European vacation after undergrad. The seed money for his failed startup. Each time, they'd framed it as investment in his potential. Each time I'd increased my monthly transfers to cover the aftermath. So, Dad continued, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket with theatrical flair, we're giving Chris the house. Full ownership transferred into his name. It's worth just over $1 million now and it's his. Our graduation gift. The crowd erupted in applause and gasps. Chris looked appropriately shocked, his eyes welling with tears as he hugged our parents. People surged forward with congratulations. Someone started chanting, "Speech, speech." I stood frozen, a champagne flute forgotten in my hand. The house. They'd given him the house. The $1 million house whose mortgage I'd been paying for 5 years. The applause continued to thunder around me as my mind performed rapid calculations. 5 years. 60 months. $8,000 monthly minimum. Some months more when they'd had unexpected expenses. I'd paid $480,000 toward that house, nearly half its value. And they'd just given it to Chris free and clear like I'd never existed. My mother's voice cut through my shock. Maya, honey, aren't you going to congratulate your brother? Every eye turned to me. Chris stood there, deed in hand, tears on his cheeks, surrounded by our parents' pride. The pride I'd chased my entire life. The pride I'd bought and paid for but never earned. Something inside me cracked, then shattered. Congratulations, Chris, I said, my voice eerily calm. That's quite a gift. Thanks, sis. He bounded over, pulling me into a hug that felt like mockery. Can you believe it? Mom and Dad are incredible. I mean, I knew they'd do something special, but this is beyond anything. How much was the mortgage? I interrupted, stepping back. Monthly. What was the payment? He blinked, confused. I don't know. Why would I know that? $3,800, I said, my voice still terrifyingly steady. Plus another $2,200 in property taxes, insurance and HOA fees. $6,000 total for the house. Then there were the utilities, both car payments, Dad's country club, their health insurance, the lawn service, pest control. $8,000, sometimes more. Every single month. For 5 years. The patio had gone quiet. My mother's smile faltered. Maya, sweetie, this isn't the time. When is the time, Mom? I turned to her and something in my expression made her step back. When is the time to acknowledge that I've paid nearly $500,000 to keep you comfortable? When is the time to mention that I've been funding your retirement since I was 29? When do I get to matter? Dad set down his whiskey, his face flushing. Young lady, that's enough. We're grateful for your help. Help. The word came out like a laugh, sharp and brittle. You call it help. Like I was doing you a favor? Helping out occasionally. Aya, please. My mother's voice took on that wounded quality she'd perfected, the one designed to make me feel guilty for having feelings. You're making a scene. This is your brother's day. Can't you just be happy for him? Something snapped. Every year of being overlooked, every sacrifice dismissed, every dollar taken for granted, it all crystallized into perfect, clarifying rage. Happy. I repeated. You want me to be happy that you've given away the house I've been paying for? The house I'll never live in, that's never been my home, that I've sacrificed my own future to maintain? You want me to celebrate while my marriage is falling apart because my husband and I can't afford to start our lives because I'm too busy funding yours. Devon. God, Devon. The man waiting at home wondering if I'd finally find my backbone. The pre-approval letter sitting on our kitchen counter. Worthless because I'd given away our down payment in monthly installments to people who'd just proven they'd never valued it. That's not fair, Chris interjected, his voice defensive. Mom and Dad didn't ask you to. Yes, they did. I whirled on him. 5 years ago, Dad called me, said they needed help, just until they got situated. I've been getting them situated ever since. And you know what? Not once, not one single time, did any of you ask if I could afford it. If I had my own dreams, if I was okay. You just assumed the responsible daughter would handle it. Because that's what I do, right? I handle things. A guest tried to slip away toward the house, and I almost laughed at the awkwardness permeating the celebration. Good. Let them see. Let them witness what their celebration was built on. My mother's eyes filled with tears, her ultimate weapon. We raised you better than this. We gave you everything. You gave Chris everything, I corrected, my voice breaking despite my fury. You gave me expectations. And I met every single one, and it was never enough. I was never enough. Dad found his authority again. That money was a gift. You can't throw gifts back in someone's face. A gift. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. Let me show you some gifts. I opened my banking app, hands trembling but steady enough. Years of statements, all meticulously categorized because I'm nothing if not organized. The responsible one. Always the responsible one. June 2020. I began reading from the screen. Initial request. Just the mortgage until we figure things out. $3,800. July 2020. Can you cover the property tax? It snuck up on us. $2,200. August 2020. The AC broke and you know your father's health. $4,500 for a new unit. I looked up. My parents had gone pale. Guests shifted uncomfortably, trapped between the bar and the truth. Chris stared at his shoes. Should I continue? September 2020, utilities added. October 2020, car payments, because apparently retirement means buying a Lexus. November 2020, country club dues because Dad's connections are important for Chris's future. December 2020, Christmas bonuses for their cleaning lady and lawn service. Charged to my account. Should I keep going? Why stop? My mother's voice was barely a whisper. Please. But I couldn't stop. 5 years of silence demanded to be heard. January 2021. Chris's car insurance because he'd let his lapse. February 2021. Their anniversary cruise. March 2021. Chris's security deposit for his apartment that he never paid back. April 2021. Their new furniture set. May 2021. We get it. Dad's voice boomed, his face crimson with anger, and if I was reading it right, shame. You've been generous. We appreciate it. But that doesn't give you the right to ruin your brother's celebration with some kind of financial audit. Generous, I repeated, the word tasting like ash. You think this was generosity? You think I wanted to choose between funding your lifestyle and having a child with my husband? You think I enjoyed watching Devon work double shifts because we couldn't afford our own life while subsidizing yours? My mother gasped. You never said you were struggling. If we'd known. You didn't ask. The words exploded out of me. Not once in 5 years did you ask if I was okay. If I could afford it. If I needed anything. You just took and assumed I had infinite resources because I was doing so well. Well, guess what? I'm drowning. And you just handed my life preserver to my brother as a party favor. The silence that followed was suffocating. Somewhere in the house, the caterers continued working, oblivious to the implosion happening outside. A balloon came loose from its cluster and drifted across the darkening sky. I watched it go, feeling oddly detached, like I was observing someone else's life fall apart. Chris finally spoke, his voice small. I didn't know. Maya, I swear I didn't know you were paying for all that. I thought Mom and Dad were just managing. Of course you didn't know, I said, not unkindly. Why would you? You've never had to know where money comes from. It's always just appeared for you like magic. But magic has a cost, Chris. I've been paying it. My father attempted to regroup, his lawyer instincts kicking in. Let's all calm down and discuss this rationally inside as a family. Maya, you're upset, understandably, but we can work through this. Maybe we can arrange some kind of repayment plan. A repayment plan? I laughed, the sound hollow. For $500,000? On what income? You're retired, remember? That was the whole point. My mother reached for me. Sweetie, we love you. You know that. This isn't about loving Chris more. Isn't it? I stepped back from her touch. Be honest, Mom. For once in my life, just be honest with me. When was the last time you celebrated something I did? When was the last time you called just to check on me, not to ask for something? When was the last time my happiness mattered more than Chris's comfort? She couldn't answer. The silence was answer enough. I pulled out my phone again, and this time I didn't open my banking app. I opened my email. I sent myself a reminder this morning. One I've been ignoring for months. Devin set it up. He calls it my self-worth alarm. It goes off every Saturday and asks me one question. Did you put yourself first this week? I looked at my family, really looked at them, seeing them clearly for perhaps the first time in my adult life. I haven't been able to answer yes in 5 years. But that changes today. My mother's voice rose in panic. What are you saying? I'm saying, I replied, opening my banking app with steady fingers, that I'm done setting myself on fire to keep you warm. This ends now. My thumb hovered over the first automatic payment. Mortgage, $3,800 scheduled for Monday. One tap. The system asked for confirmation. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment? I'd never been more sure of anything. Cancelled. Property tax payment scheduled for next week. Cancelled. Dad's Lexus payment. Cancelled. Mom's Mercedes payment. Cancelled. My mother made a sound like a wounded animal. Maya, no. Don't do this. Don't be rash. We can talk about this. We're talking right now, I said calmly, continuing down the list. I'm just doing it while making some necessary adjustments to my budget. Country club dues. Cancelled. Their premium cable package. Cancelled. The lawn service that came twice weekly. Cancelled. Chris's car insurance that I'd somehow ended up covering. Cancelled. You can't just cut us off. Dad's voice climbed toward hysteria. We have obligations. Bills. The mortgage is due in 3 days. I know, I said, completing the last cancellation. I set up those payments, remember? But here's the thing, Dad. Those are your obligations. Your bills. Your mortgage. That you just gave away to Chris, along with any claim you might have had on my continued financial support. I turned to my brother, who stood clutching his deed like it might evaporate. Congratulations, Chris. You just inherited a house with a monthly nut of $6,000, not including utilities or maintenance. Hope that MBA prepared you for property management. He'd gone white. But I just started my job search. I don't have. Not my problem, I interrupted, the words foreign but liberating on my tongue. Just like my financial situation has never been your problem. Welcome to adulthood. It's expensive. This is cruel, my mother sobbed. How can you do this to your family? After everything we've done for you? That stopped me. I turned back slowly and something in my face made them all step back. Everything you've done for me? Let me tell you what you've done for me, Mom. You've taught me that love is conditional. That my worth is measured by my usefulness. That no matter what I achieve, it'll never matter as much as Chris's mediocrity. So thank you. Thank you for that lesson. It's the last one you'll ever teach me. The party dissolved like sugar in rain. Guests fled with mumbled excuses and awkward side glances. The caterers packed up in record time, eager to escape the tension. Within 30 minutes, the celebration had become a wake for relationships that had been dead for years. I'd just been too devoted to notice. Chris caught my arm as I headed for my car. Maya, wait. Please. I really didn't know. If I'd known what you were doing, I would have. Would have what? I asked, not unkindly. Said no to the house? Refused their money all these years? Got a job instead of a third degree? I shook my head. No, you wouldn't have. Because you've been raised to believe you deserve it. And maybe you're not the villain here, Chris. Maybe you're just another victim of their favoritism. But that doesn't make it my responsibility to fix. I pulled out the gift I'd brought. A card with $5,000 cash inside because I'd wanted to be generous, wanted to be the bigger person. I handed it to him. Consider this my graduation gift. And my goodbye. Goodbye. His voice cracked. Maya, you don't mean that. I do. The certainty felt like solid ground after years of quicksand. I'm done. Done being the responsible one. Done being the safety net. Done sacrificing my life for people who wouldn't do the same for me. You all made your choice today. This is mine. My parents appeared on the porch, Dad's arm around Mom's shoulders. She was still crying, and part of me, that dutiful daughter part, wanted to comfort her. But that part had been beaten down by years of neglect disguised as expectation. You'll regret this, Dad called out, his voice hard. When you need us someday, don't come crying. Actually laughed. Need you? Dad, I haven't needed you since I was 18. You've needed me. That was the whole problem. I opened my car door, then paused. The house. It needs a new roof. Inspector said 2 years ago it had maybe 3 years left. There's black mold in the basement from that pipe leak last winter that you never fully fixed. And the foundation has cracks on the east side that'll cost about $60,000 to repair. Congratulations on your gift, Chris. Hope it brings you joy. Devin was awake when I got home, sitting in the dark of our small living room. I texted him from the car, just 3 words, I did it. He hadn't responded, and for a moment, standing in our doorway, I feared I'd burned down my life for nothing. Then he stood and I saw his face. He was crying. I'm so proud of you, he whispered, pulling me close. God, Maya, I'm so proud of you. I broke then, truly broke, sobbing into his shoulder, not from sadness but from relief. The weight I'd been carrying, the invisible burden that had bowed my shoulders for 5 years, was gone. I felt light enough to float away. I canceled everything, I said through tears. Every payment. They gave Chris the house and I couldn't anymore, Devin. I couldn't keep doing it. I know, baby. I know. He held me tighter. You were so strong. So brave. I don't feel brave. I feel terrified. What if they're right? What if I'm a horrible daughter? What if? What if you finally put yourself first? He interrupted gently. What if you chose us? Chose yourself? That's not horrible, Maya. That's survival. We sat together on our second-hand couch in our too small apartment, and I pulled up my banking app one more time. The recurring payments section was empty. But my checking account balance, the one that had been perpetually drained, showed $8,000 scheduled to remain mine come Monday. $8,000 that could stay with us. That could build our future instead of maintaining theirs. The pre-approval letter, I said suddenly. The mortgage approval. Is it still good? Devin pulled back to look at me, hope dawning in his eyes. Yeah. 90 days from last month. Then let's look at houses tomorrow. Our house. No more paying someone else's mortgage. I took a shaky breath. I want to build something that's ours. Something they can't touch. Something that proves I'm worth more than my usefulness to people who never appreciated it. He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. We'll build everything. Together. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Please reconsider. We're your family. We love you. I read it, felt the familiar tug of obligation, that deeply programmed response to their needs. Then I thought about the deed in Chris's hands, the party I'd paid for, the life I'd deferred for people who'd handed my investment to someone else without a second thought. I blocked the number. I never heard from my parents again. Not directly anyway. Chris called twice. Once a month after the party, desperate, explaining they couldn't make the mortgage, that they were going to lose the house. Could I help? Just one more time? I wished him well and hung up. The second call came 3 months later. They'd sold the house, taken a loss, moved into a rental. He didn't ask for money this time. Just wanted me to know he'd gotten a job, was making his own way. He sounded different. Maybe even grown up. I didn't call back, but I didn't block him either. Devin and I closed on our first house last week. 3 bedrooms, a yard for the dog we're adopting next month, and a nursery for the baby I'm carrying. Our child, conceived in freedom rather than obligation. They'll grow up knowing that love isn't measured by what you can provide, and that boundaries aren't betrayal, they're self-respect. Sometimes I think about that party, the look on my parents' faces when I canceled those payments. Mostly I think about how I felt afterward. Terrified but free. Guilty but growing. Lost but found. Someone asked me recently if I regretted cutting them off. I thought about it honestly. I regret the years I lost. I regret believing my worth was tied to their approval. I regret not standing up for myself sooner. But walking away. Choosing myself. Choosing Devin and our future and our unborn child over their endless, thankless expectations? That I'll never regret. They taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who values you, who loves you not for what you can give them but for who you are. By that definition, I have more family now in Devin and our coming child than I ever had in that house I paid for but never belonged in. I'm the responsible one. But now I'm responsible for my own happiness. And that's the only obligation I'll never cancel. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support helps me share more stories about finding strength in the hardest moments. And if you've ever struggled with family boundaries or toxic relationships, know this. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. You deserve people who value you beyond your utility. You deserve to be more than the responsible one.